Hello everyone, it's been a while. So today I'm going to explain the color trade block mechanics. They are slightly more difficult than they were. The old system just used to be the average daily revenue for every nation on the color divided by the total nations on the color. Reasonably simple, however it did lead to this little loop where the big alliances would kick off the small nations to increase the bonus, and then the small nations would join the color because of its high bonus. Awesome, but also not very much fun. The new system is slightly more balanced. The big nations still get a higher bonus from being big nations, and they also get a bonus for how many new nations they can attract to their color. Awesome. Small nations now contribute and are rewarded for that. However, because people don't understand how these mechanics work, they are inviting alliances randomly, kicking others off equally randomly, and generally just turning this into a big ball of chaos. For example, Golden Horizon is one of the worst color trade blocks in the game, and it's also the one that was fought over most recently. There was whole wars over who would be on this color trade block. Compare that to green, which is significantly better. There's almost been no argument over green. Singularity occupies blue by itself and is reaping the rewards. And they're currently, last I checked, paperless. So they have very little political influence. So what is going on here? How do we know which alliances contribute and which don't? How do we know when we should be inviting alliances or kicking them off? Well, I have a Google Sheet. This looks reasonably confusing, I bet. I'm going to simplify it. There are two bonuses, a growth bonus and a recruit bonus. There's a cap, but you don't need to know how it works, only that there is one. The growth bonus works like it used to. It takes the average daily revenue of all the alliances on the color and divides it by however many nations are on the color. The recruit turn bonus takes the number of small nations on that color and it divides it by the total number of new nations in the game. Simplified, more new nations, the higher the recruit bonus. The higher your the average revenue, the higher your growth bonus. By adding new nations to a color trade block, you're going to reduce the growth bonus because they have small incomes, small average revenues, and you're going to increase the recruit bonus. The solution is obviously that the new nations need to increase their revenues, right? And the nations that are above City 21, the normal alliances, I guess, they need to also try and increase their revenue as much as possible. And if you hit the cap for either of the bonuses, then you should work on the other. For example, Pirate Black has 184,000, so they've hit the cap on recruit, and these guys have hit the cap on growth, right? So you can see it's the same number. This number repeats. It's because they've all hit the cap. So what ARG, or the nations on black, should do is they should try and increase all of their average revenues. Because they've already hit the recruit bonus, then there's nowhere to go but up if they increase the growth bonus. For, Lime, these guys that have capped out the growth bonus, they should increase the number of small nations on the color trade block to increase their recruit bonus until their growth bonus starts going down, which might be 50 nations, it might be 20 nations, or who knows. But they might as well try and maximize both of them. That's the short version, right? If you only wanted to hear, how to improve the bonus, that's all you need to know. But I'm going to go into a bit more detail because I'm going to pinpoint a system you can use for, picking which alliances you want to kick off if you're in that position. So if you use Locutus, you can pull every nation in the game as well as their revenue, and their alliance and their color. You can then filter this information by color and then transpose and detail it. So this is, for example, green. They have an average revenue of 69 million, so you're just averaging all the major nations. And then this here at the top also averages out everything that Alliance is contributing. So Oblivion, they're under, what was it, 69 million? So they're not contributing to the bonus, right? They're leeching off it. Same with Royal Alba, though quite narrowly. Grumpy is contributing to the bonus, Syndicate is, and Guardian is. And, I mean, makes perfect sense. They're all huge alliances. The Enterprise is absolutely leeching off of green, right? Its average revenue is a third of all of the other major players on green, except for these 4 alliances, which will probably be immediately kicked off. But yeah, so why is the Enterprise there? Why is this okay? Well, if we go to average infrastructure, you can see half of their infrastructure is really low, but the other half is really high. See, 2,700, 2,500, 2,800. They are contributing. And because almost all of these are small nations, then they contribute entirely to the recruit bonus, right? So Sea of Green would easily camp out the growth bonus instantaneously because it has such an insanely high average revenue. This allows them to add an alliance like Enterprise, which doesn't contribute that much, to try and max out the recruit bonus. And then they increase the average infrastructure in the Enterprise to boost the growth bonus. Singularity is quite clever because, one, they've occupied color by themselves, which allows them to max out the growth bonus, partially just because of the low population, but also because they have reasonably high incomes. And then they are strategically keeping all of their small nations at City 20, right? Because as soon as they go above City 20, they go to City 21, they stop contributing to the recruit bonus, and they only contribute to the growth bonus. And while their income's already factored into the growth bonus, so this doesn't change. So 180k, that just stays. Maybe slightly higher because City 21 is higher than City 20. The recruit bonus, though, will drop to 0, or virtually 0. So there you have a huge incentive to keep nations here. If you wanted to truly max out both bonuses, then you would put all of your small nations on City 20. And the moment they go above City 20, you'd move them off the color to somewhere else, and then you would bring them back when they're like City 30, and they contribute more to the average revenue. But I don't think any alliance is going to be doing that. So the easiest system is just increase the average infrastructure for small nations. And they're relatively safe anyway because wars don't tend to happen below City 25 anymore, like not big ones. So yeah, safe investment increases everyone's revenue quite a lot. I will do a bit of math because, actually I'll do it here, visualize it. So you have 300,000 times 12. It's 3.6 million for every nation on green every day. Actually, it's not quite. It's 290. Well, do that. 290,000. So it's 3.4 million for every nation on green per day. And then you multiply by that by 30 days. And then you multiply that by, say you're the syndicate. You have 100 members, roughly. So you're making 10 billion from the color trade block every month. That is a huge amount of revenue. You could easily give the Enterprise 5 billion to increase its infrastructure and probably make a return on investment. Or maybe not the Syndicate because they've maxed it out, but a smaller alliance that has not maxed out their bonus could do that, right? They could just help the smaller alliances on their color trade block and still make a profit. So you have a lot of incentive actually to consolidate your sphere and your allies onto the same color trade block and then invest in them. Or you can diversify risk as Syndicate might put it, and have a few major alliances from different spheres on your color trade block. So if one of you gets rolled, the others, I don't know, keep the bonus high and attractive. So, yep, that's the new color trade block mechanics. Enjoy.